A new bill in the U.S. Senate, number 1596 to be precise, would send the states $10 million as an incentive to pass anti-distracted driving laws, primarily aimed at banning texting while driving, TWD. Is this a prudent measure in the interest of public safety, or just more nanny state intrusion, encroaching on state sovereignty by bribing them to pass laws? I'm PJTV's Scott Ott, joined now from Los Angeles by Bill Whittle and from Monument, Colorado by Stephen Green. Bill, while there are no solid stats to establish that texting actually kills, advocates of the ban estimate that 5,500 people are killed and 448,000 injured each year by distracted driving. A survey by Nationwide Insurance shows 80% support a texting ban. Isn't it about time we pass some laws to stop this carnage?
Boy, this one is a little tough. First of all, I'm against just about any kind of law to restrict any kind of freedom or activity on principle, just on principle. With that said, as they often say, driving is a privilege, not a right. You have to secure a license in order to drive. You don't apparently have the right to drive in this country. And I suppose that if you did have a right to just get in a car of your own manufacturer or of your own car, forget about the whole licensing thing, if you could just go out there and go, then I'd have no problem with being able to text as well. It is certainly very distracting. I live in a town with a lot of city and a lot of traffic. I think there's a difference between texting while driving and speaking on the phone while driving. I think the main problem with texting is your eyes are down. I think you ought to be able to have a reasonable expectation that your eyes should be up. So I probably would, after much thought, give some thought to supporting something like this.
Well, we'll get into more detail about how this works in a little bit. But, Stephen, about $5 million of this $10 million would go toward advertising to educate the public about the dangers of distracted driving, like this PSA. But texting is just one distraction. What other distractions would you like to see the state crack down on?
Well, my main concern is dashboard grillers, Scott. They drive me nuts. I can't tell you how often I see somebody, usually some suburban housewife in a giant SUV she'll never take off-road, grilling on her dashboard. Steaks, burgers, maybe hot dogs for the soccer team and back. You know, tending to the charcoal it's a major distraction from driving. And I hesitate even to mention how many times people forget to use their turn indicators just because they have to do a doneness check on a chicken breast in a busy intersection. It's also my understanding that if you don't crack a window while grilling, the noxious fumes can build up and actually make the driver sleepy as well. It's got to stop.
There certainly ought to be a law.
Ought to be a law.
Bill, according to thehill.com, a 2009 study showed that 20% of drivers in fatal accidents were either using a cell phone or in the presence of one at the time of the accident. So who can oppose a texting ban in the face of such overwhelming evidence?
Well, now we get into the reason to go against a texting ban because of this idiotic slippery slope power grab nonsense that never, ever ends. Oh, you're in the presence of a cell phone. There's a cell phone in your vicinity. I see how that works. Okay, there's a cell phone in my vicinity. Well, swell. Look, if I'm not using my cell phone, it's irrelevant to my driving record. And frankly, my ability, I think, to speak on the phone, especially with a hands-off device, does marginally impact your concentration to some degree, but it's never caused me any undue anxiety. Texting, as I say, is looking down. So why don't we just stop making this about texting, and why not we make this about what the issue really is? You need to pay attention when you're driving your car. If you're not driving your car and paying attention, there should be a ticket for that. And what the reason is, whether it's putting on makeup or texting, or the guy next to you's got 50,000 Obama stickers on his car, and you're so overwhelmed with rage that you can no longer see straightly the direction directly ahead of you, you want to run him off the road. Whatever reason, why don't we stop making it about the cause and make it about the effect? Pay attention while you're driving. That's the law.
Try being in the presence of 4 little children. Bill Whittle is co-founder of DeclarationEntertainment.com, host of Afterburner here on PJTV. You know, the federal government isn't going to raise your taxes or borrow money from China to pay for this $10 million codicil of a bill. The cash will actually be shifted from the current Safety Belt Performance Grant Program, a $48.5 million fund. Stephen, are you concerned that the reduction in death by texting, DBT, might be offset by an increase in PTW, people through windshield?
People through windshields. You know what? You and Bill really nailed it with there ought to be a law. It's like the most evil phrase in the English language. All the money, the $45 million, we don't have it. We got to close stuff down, kill departments, end studies. Because Bill was half right. It is about the car. Look, your car, it's a missile. It's a 2-ton missile traveling at 25, 35, 75 miles an hour out here in Colorado. And you know what happens when a 2-ton missile hits something else? Bad things happen. And you know what? Even though I just called it a missile, this ain't rocket scientist. Big steel going fast can kill people and break things. So drive accordingly. I'll take my $45 million now.
Congressman Stephen Green hosts Hair of the Dog, the weekend blogs, right here on PJTV. By the way, another $25 million of the Safety Belt Performance Grant funding will go toward improvements in the National Automotive Sampling System, an electronic database to which police report accidents so the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration can generate statistics that inspire new regulations and new laws, which the federal government encourages the states to implement by sending them more money. Oddly enough, it's already illegal everywhere to drive recklessly, a condition that can be caused by everything from cheeseburgers to chatting to children to chugging a beer. Why do we need to spend millions of dollars to pass reams of new laws to tell drivers something they already know? Are Americans ignorant of the dangers of taking their eyes off the road? You know, this may seem like a small matter, tens of millions of dollars in dropping in a bucket of trillions. But they're working to pass Senate Bill 1596 right now, and you can speak up today. The distracted driving provision, by the way, is on page 46. My friend, this is how a federal republic becomes a consolidated national socialist state, little by little, day by day, with codicils on page 46. And you're the only bulwark against that. You are the sentinel of liberty. For Bill Whittle, Stephen Green, and the entire Trifecta crew at PJTV.com, I'm Scott Ott.